Jesse, great to see you again.
Yeah.
You spoke in the press conference about obviously being 4 months away from these players, and the first thing you wanted to do was hit them with some key reminders. What were those?
Mostly about intensity and like some of our principles and concepts about how we press and how we counter press. So, we always kind of hit them with sometimes like a re-entry video. And then the first training session, we try to do some rondos and make things very intensive and active and make sure that they kind of get themselves up to speed of what the feeling we think football needs to be. So I think we've done a good job with that. A few of them were like, oh yeah, okay, we're back.
But obviously your job is to win games, but you're a compassionate guy. It's clear you care about these people. How much time do you spend checking in with them to make sure everything's going well?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time with them. I'm a relationship coach. And by the way, I like these guys a lot. And I'm also kind of interacting with them, sending little texts, supporting them. I try not to coach them too much when they're far away. I just want them to, sometimes I give little reminders. I don't want to get in the way of everything they're doing with their club teams, but I want to encourage them and I want to support them. And so, I think they know that about me. They know that I care about them and that not just as players, but as people. And I think we have an environment that's built around that.
But you miss them, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, and they miss each other because the first couple days when we come back, even I kind of got on them a little bit because the first session that we had yesterday, they kind of strolled out a little bit too casual, and I kind of laid into them a little bit and said, all right, we have to enjoy the time together, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can so that we give ourselves the best chance to make a run at this.
Time to work, and also for you to time to pick a team, which is not easy. You alluded to the players that we're obviously going to be expecting to play. The back four is pretty set, Eustachio, Laren, and David up front. But the other spots, I think, are all pretty consistent in a sense that they've got players there that have played really well for you, but sometimes have not played a lot lately. How do you balance that out as a national team manager when, as a club manager, you'd have been like, well, it's just present form, but now it's very different.
Yeah, we even made a few more decisions to include guys that have been a part of this for the last 10 months because they know who we are and what we are and how we play. And so, that's the reason why maybe Jaden Nelson doesn't make it, even though he's in really good form. And you could go a few others because we brought in Daniel Jebison and we brought in Promise David. It means that we just had to get the balance right. So, it's a good thing now, right? We've got guys playing at bigger clubs. I think a lot of our players have grown a lot as people over the last 10 months. Playing at higher levels, the demands of what European football is and schedules and if you're in if you're fighting for Champions League or if you're fighting to stay out of relegation and what that means for what performances require, I think all of those things in the end are good for our players, but sometimes they're not playing as consistently as you would like, and then some are coming a little bit off of injury. So there's a few more variables in deciding exactly what the lineup is and making sure that we have a team that can play at the pace that we want.
Yeah, let's hit some of those positions. And in goal, I spoke to Dane Sinclair and I said, if you get the nod on Thursday, will it be your biggest game for Canada? And he agreed it probably would be. He's played in Gold Cups, but this is obviously a major semi-final. If he does get that nod, what do you see in him to see that he's ready?
Well, I would maybe argue that the third place match too in Copa America is still a big match. But Dane, I've watched him from afar. He even reminded me that he was with the New York Red Bull under-23 team and trained with us a little bit of the first team, and I remembered that. So even when I go back to then, and then I've watched him over the last year, I've kind of always thought he has big talent. And for me, it's been really about wrapping around his mentality around what a high-level goalkeeper is about. And he's, I think, taken on the challenges that I've given him, and he's responded in a really good way. And he sees what I'm talking about. Like, he's a jovial guy. He's a really likable personality. But what I said to him is, as a goalkeeper, everyone wants a rock back there. Somebody that they absolutely know in the toughest moments that they can count on. And we need to build that mentality toward that, direction. And I think he has. And certainly for his club, he's done that. And now I think for us, he's continued to climb the ladder.
And in midfield, you have so many options. Nico Sego's been excellent watching some of his games.
Yeah.
Matty Chouanier played the last game against Mexico. Jonathan Osorio's played the most games of any player in this squad against Mexico, scored against them as well. And then you've got Ismael Kone, who obviously has been up and down with form, but obviously had that fantastic game against Uruguay as well. So how do you look at that spot, and what are you looking for, whoever that is that you play next to Steph in that game? What are you looking for out of them?
There's a few, there's some of the things that we know specifically from the start of the game that are going to be combative. And then, making sure that our understanding tactically, and then what the standards of the game will be, and then how to make sure that we start the game with the right kind of players on the pitch that can still not just meet the standard, but set the tone for what we think the game needs to look like. And then based on form and fitness, which guys we can kind of think about introducing as the game goes on, and maybe as the game gets more open, use some of the other kinds of players to help benefit us at those moments. And then also thinking that if the game is tight late, that we might have to go to an additional 30 minutes, and what does that mean for different guys' form and fitness and everything else. So there's a lot of variables right now, but the good news is I feel like I can't really make a wrong decision, because we have a lot of guys that get what we're doing, and they understand the standard and the ideas of what we try to achieve when we play. So this will be a big test of that, but I have confidence in the group, and I have confidence in a lot of players, and that list of players continues to grow.
For sure. And then those wide players further forward, the two wingers, whatever you call them, obviously they play quite inside as well for you to remain compact. When watching back all of your games, it's amazing how many chances you've actually created through those players that you haven't converted. Is that something that you're talking to them more about in terms of not necessarily their delivery, but the entire attacking unit that I know gets a lot of praise because they've got the goals, but it almost looks like you've left a number of scoring opportunities on the table?
No, look, specifically in Copa America, we didn't reward ourselves enough. And even, you could go through other matches that we've played since then where, the U.S., I thought we could have been on top of the game more. Panama, we could have been on top of the game more. But, this is kind of part of the evolution of a team. I know we have attacking quality. I mean, look, the players that we're not bringing, right? There's still so much quality now in the group from an attacking perspective, and we have a lot of explosiveness. And so the goals are going to come, and I mean, we have enough firepower. For me, it's just like, continuing to build the idea of what the best games look like, and setting a standard inside the team, and then growing that, developing that over time, putting it into pressures that challenge players to respond, to deal with difficulty, to make sure that the team understands that the most important thing about their unity is that on match day, it shows up, that we look athletic, that we play fast, that we show our qualities in that way. Like, that's what this project is for me from a soccer perspective, and then continuing to build the mentality and the self-belief that these guys have that they can be really good.
Last one for you. You've used the word fun a lot in your press conferences and in a lot of our media interviews that you've had. How much fun is this for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a team that is fun to work with because they possess a lot of the physical qualities that I like in players. As a group, they're some of the best young men I've ever worked with. They're the character, the unity. They're just incredibly likable, right? And lovable, really. And so, like, whenever we get together, as much as they're love to see each other, I feel part of that now. They've really welcomed me. They've made me feel part of them. And the things that I care about in life and in football, they all seem to care about too and possess, and they've been rewarded by these things, right? So we've both, I think, as a coach, I've been really rewarded by who they are and what they are, and I think it's been vice versa. And sometimes, in life, and I've talked about the time that I took before I made the decision to come here, and it was about making sure that I could find something like this. I would never have dreamed that it could be as great as it is, right? And look, I don't want to. We have a lot of work to do to get to our potential, but the journey has been an enjoyable one, and I believe that it will continue to be so, and that in itself will help us achieve our goals, our potential, and continue to develop as a group together.
Yeah, you're blessed to have Canada. Canada's blessed to have you. Thanks, Jesse. Good luck Thursday.
Thanks, man.